good morning, or well, I guess 7 minutes after afternoon. Welcome back, everyone, to the channel. Thank you so much for being here, and thank you so much for stopping on in, for traveling my way, passing by, stopping for a moment, enjoying the ambiance, hopefully some music. Today, we are going to listen to this piece from Pierre Schaeffer, where it's going to be entitled, and I'm pulling it all up, Études des bruits, from 1948. We're listening to this piece because it was suggested and sponsored by Alan. Thank you so much for the recommendation, Alan, as well as the sponsorship as well. Really appreciate that. I love your request because like they're very interesting. Like this one, for example, you wrote, it's more interesting on a historical level, as you said, it's the very first Western composition built entirely from electronically manipulating found sounds, sampling. I think that's incredible. And it's really cool to have a first example. This is going to be completely different from, what this is likely going to be. But one of the best albums of all time that's made entirely from sampling is Introducing from DJ Shadow. Listen, it's going to be far removed for whatever we're about to listen to. But it's also one of the more it's always like one of those greatest albums of all time. And it's a good one. It's a really good one. And it's so cool hearing that album and realizing every sound in there is sampled and the way that he's kind of played with that and such. Okay, anyways, we're going to listen to this piece here. It is, let's see, I'm pulling it up right now, Études des bruits. I'm pulling it through. I'm loading the video. It's coming up, coming up, coming up. It just started. It's there. See if we can identify the sounds. The obvious railroad. I'm curious as this goes. Is he going to turn it into something, or is it like more of a sound effects recording? I like how that indigenous flute keeps him in. That almost sounds like a tape being recorded over. It would be cool to go to a museum and see all this equipment though, like as he's using it. That would be really cool. That kind of sounds like something. is. There's so many little pieces in this jigsaw. There's like different movements, basically. I guess Études, yeah, could be. It's kind of a cool sound. I kind of like this, actually. This part here. This little knocking comes back. Sounds like being outside of a concert hall, this sound. Because it sounds like a very distant orchestra or something. And the sound's being transmitted a certain way. That section was actually, I actually unironically enjoyed that. It's kind of creepy. This sounds like it could be like modern and used in like a lo-fi kind of down tempo, that section there. It's like a few notes to bring you back in, and then it pushes you back out. Okay, that was a push. It's like someone walking in a hallway in the distance, coming closer. They're getting a lot closer. It's an interesting sound. It's like a submarine radar. See, like, what's he doing in that picture? Is he spinning that and then, like, capturing the sound of the microphone? I want to watch a video, but I can't. It's like he took that sound of him spinning that and is manipulating it now. I feel like that's what we're hearing here. In two layers, one sped up and one slowed down. See? I almost feel like all these sounds that you're hearing now is all based off of that one. Well, maybe not all of them.
Viens dans le...
Almost sounds like an old like background music for a cartoon. He's making the cough rhythmically. He built the cough into the rhythm. Still doing it. I hear you. Don't know he's sampling there. And there's that original sound coming back. Okay. All right, we're gonna have to do a little research on this one. We're gonna dive into it a little bit. At first, let me just take you through my mind, okay? The first part of it, I was like, is this just a collection of random sounds that he's captured and he's just putting it into a recording? Because that's what it felt like in the very beginning. I was like, okay, I get it. From a historical point of view, sure. The sampling, the capturing sounds, putting them in a recording, cool. That's fine. But I'm admitting, and unironically I'm saying this, as it went on, it began for me to make more sense and to kind of come into it and kind of come away from just being educational and interesting from a historical context into actually like kind of sounding proto-ambient, proto obviously sampling and stuff, but there were moments in there where you could clearly hear like this influence coming back later, decades later, because there were some moments in here that I thought were really brilliant. So can I just say, like, let me pull it back up here real quick. And I would assume that the pictures have to have some sort of relevance to what we're hearing. So this part, right? I can't tell exactly what he's spinning. Looks like a large plate or something of that nature. I feel like this is exactly what we're hearing in this final part. He spins something. You clearly hear it. You hear like a coin when you flip that. And then he's recording it. And the sounds that you hear, most of them are based off of that spinning sound. Like, I didn't look at the timestamp that it happened. Here. Okay. Before that. See that in the back? I feel like that's still that spinning plate, but he's manipulating the sound. And then even that long ambience, that sustained ambience, I still feel that that's the same sound, just slowed down even more so. I could be 100% wrong, obviously, but... And then you hear, of course, some vocal transmissions that come in, vocal samplings that pop in. There's a little bit of a melody that comes in, and it kind of sounds... I couldn't say exactly. It could be harmonica, could be some sort of violin or something like that. I'm really not 100% sure. But that comes in there as well. And I will say from like halfway through forward, it becomes much more musical, or at least musically inclined. And that's where I'm starting to get like, okay, I kind of see where this is going, and I kind of see what the idea is behind this. It's not just, at least from what I could tell from like the first part, it's not just sounding like random sound recordings smashed together and put in there and like, okay, big whoop, your recorded sound. It's been done, 1948. But from the halfway point forward, I actually found some nuance, and there was actually sound manipulation and stuff happening there, and it was actually becoming a little bit more musical, you know. So I'm pulling up. Let me Google this real quick. Okay, here we go. I have Pierre Schaeffer and also the actual Wikipedia page for this up here. Okay, so Schaeffer's bruits, 5 studies of noises, a series of 5 musical compositions. The 5 etudes were composed in 48, and the earliest pieces of music concrete, and a form of electroacoustic music. All right. Okay, the 5 etudes were composed at the studio. They are trains, which you first hear. It's very obvious, you know, the very first time you hear is the railroad tracks and the trains going over it. That part, I was like, okay, I get it. But I didn't necessarily hear anything in there that was like really interesting. The second part, etude tourniquets, toy tops, and percussion instruments. You heard it. It was very much more playful, right? I was still kind of hearing just more sounds recorded. I wasn't really hearing anything outside of that. However, and I guess it does make sense, the halfway point, like I mentioned, Etude Violette, Etude Noir, and Etude Pathétique. Piano sounds recorded for Schaeffer by Pierre Boulez. Piano sounds recorded for Schaeffer by Boulez. And saucepans, canal boats, singing, speech, harmonica, and piano. It makes complete sense, but this is where it became more musical, naturally, because there's now piano and actual instrumentation and melodies recorded. So it makes sense. So from this part forward, I thought it actually became kind of interesting. So from here, because I even mentioned it while it was going, it kind of sounded like some of those notes sounded like it could be used, and I'm just thinking, you know, more modern times now. It's just where my mind goes. It's what I have as a comparison. It becomes something that could be very easily put into something like, you know, a down-tempo trip-hop kind of song or something like that. And I wouldn't doubt if Brian Eno perhaps was influenced in some capacity from Schaeffer or other musicians in the music concretes kind of genre or in this kind of period of experimentation. I would absolutely not be surprised to hear some of that inspiration. And then the fourth part here, Etude Noir, it did get a little darker. It did become a little bit, I won't say creepy, but there was definitely a slight tension that was built up in there, a certain kind of stress. And I liked that. It sounded very cinematic to me. It sounded like something that you would put in a film in the background. Not necessarily something of horror or terror, but something to build tension, something to fill that space, but not overfill it. And I thought that was really, really cool, actually. And then now looking at the saucepans, you know, obviously that's a saucepan. I guess that's what he has here. I don't know where the handle is. Maybe that's taken off there. But that saucepan, that's what's being used. And I think it's really cool hearing that spun, the rhythm being used of that. And that's actually where some of these cool things came from, like especially in this last part. Like you can hear the rhythm being built off of it. And like now to me, for someone who all of this is completely unfamiliar, it became something more musical. And it's just really interesting, you know? It says the works were premiered on broadcast in 1958, or 48 rather. In 2011, the New York Times included this in their history of a mashup, describing it as the first piece of music concrete composed from recordings of trains, create music with pre-recorded media. It's described as a prominent place in most histories of electronic and computer music. And can I say another thing? It would be really cool. I'm just looking at the images here. It'd be really cool to go to a museum or an exhibit of this type of, you know, musical technology from this age, and to, you know, how a lot of museums will actually set up the equipment so you can kind of mess with it a little bit. I think that'd be so cool. I'm sure there's several around, but that would just be really cool to actually go to. You know, if there was something like that here, I would 100% absolutely go to learn, because I think that's really, really interesting and really, really fascinating to kind of hear those beginnings, you know, and not just beginnings, but beginnings. You know, I mean like beginnings, to go back as far as possible back there to really see that. I'm just looking to see if there was any other information on this particular piece of music. I'm on a website, The Vinyl Factory. I just pulled this up here really quick, and what do you know? nearly 50 years before DJ Shadow's introducing. Told you. All right. Can be traced back to the experiments of Mr. Pierre Schaeffer. That's kind of interesting. And that perfectly lines up because, like I said, I mean, just as they mentioned, DJ Shadow's introducing is a huge album in this kind of sound and, using sampling and pre-recorded sounds and building an album out of it. And it is really cool to kind of go back and hear this. 42, let's see. He said, outspoken nuclear. I'm looking to see if there's anything. I mean, this is a long article, I see Jarre's name as Jean Jarre, a former student of Schaeffer's, put it in 2007. Back in the 40s, Schaeffer invented the sample, the locked groove, in other words, the loop. It was Schaeffer who experimented with distorting sounds, playing them backwards, speeding them up, and slowing them down. He was the one who invented the entire way music is made these days. Now, I don't know if this is a live video. I would 100% love to type in his name and look up a live video, perhaps to see how he created it. But with my current copyright strike, I cannot risk any sort of video. So unfortunately, which is why I had to take down the Wendy Carlos thing. I really wished I could because I would love to see it in motion, but not like this. Let me know what you guys thought of it, of course, in the comments down below. Thank you, as always, for being here. Alan, thank you so much for the recommendation and the sponsorship as well, because this was cool, even beyond the educational level and the historical level. It's just cool to, honestly, halfway through, it was just cool to listen to. I enjoyed that. So thank you so much, guys, for being here. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will see you all later. Bye.